Hi Lumineers, welcome to the Lighter Side Show. I'm Jamie Butler, the Everyday Medium. Today's guest is Sigrira. It's just like Cher, one name, only because her last name is so long I can't pronounce it. And we're going to talk to you today about how to support your interspecies family through death and dying. But before we get there, I do have a few housekeeping notes. You guys have been asking for classes, and we have gotten them on the schedule. So we have a basic mediumship class in January. We have an intermediate class in February, and these are online classes. And we have an in-person in Atlanta advanced mediumship class the weekend of March 24th. So you can go ahead and plan for that. And if you want all the details to these classes, head over to my website, which is jamiebutlermedium.com, and you can get all the information there. So I won't bother you by giving you all the details here now, because I want to get to the topic at hand. How do we support our interspecies family through death and dying? And it almost makes it sound like we're supporting them by dying, but that's not the point here. We're talking about how does our family manage the loss, transition of our pet. So Sigrira, can you give us a little bit of a background of what you've been doing with animals? I mean, I know a lot because I've seen you several times and I tend to refer you quite a bit to a lot of animal needs.
Thank you.
But what do you do?
In terms of what we're talking about today, a lot of what I help with animals is when your animal is maybe terminally ill and you're feeling like the time might be close. It's a really difficult time because you've been caring for them. You have bittersweet feelings because you don't want them to go, but at the same time you don't want them to suffer, and you realize that there might be a time that that they may need assistance, like veterinary assistance. So
so are you helping families or pet parents decide when the suffering is too much? Like maybe when it has come out of being a lesson for the animal and more of an assistance to help them cross over? Like, are you able to distinguish those?
I'm helping by communicating with the animal so that they know directly from them how they feel. Like if they feel like it's time, or if they want to have another, little bit of time, another week, or if sometimes we feel like we're worried about them suffering for too long, but maybe they want to hang out for another week and have those extra few minutes. Like a lot of times they tell me that they just want to like literally suck every second out of it. That sounds funny, but it's like the sweetness of it. And even if they are sometimes, maybe in a little bit of discomfort, it's they sometimes just want a little bit of extra time. But on the other hand, you don't want to drag it on too long and have them suffer. So they might give me an example of a sign that they might give to their person, or certain things they'll do or maybe they'll say, when I stop eating, that's when it will happen, or something like that.
Oh, so those are clear signs to follow. Okay, you said that you're talking to the animals. How do you do that?
Okay.
Are you speaking dog and cat language, or what's going on?
I communicate with the animals. I call it intuitively, but it's basically telepathy. It's there's not really anything woo-woo about it. It's love it. It's how most animals communicate with each other, and it's basically communicating from your heart to the animal. And I believe everybody can do this. It takes some practice. It's sort of like learning a new language. And sometimes the information comes across in words. Sometimes it comes across in images. Sometimes they show me like little, almost like movies that I see inside my mind. So there's a lot of different ways that I receive the communication.
When did you know you could do this?
I did not know I could do this for a long time. It just seemed like a fantasy to me for a long time, and it was actually in a session with you.
I didn't prep you up for that. I want people to understand how you came into this.
It was in a session with Jamie, and I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but my guides came through. I think it was my uncle specifically, and he was like, you can do this. And I was like, what? And I was amazed because to me it was a dream come true. Like that was like the best thing I could imagine.
Oh, I'm telling you, she's made for this.
If he had told me you were going to be a superhero, like there's nothing better that would have made me happier. So then I just started practice. I started buying books and reading about it, and I took some classes, but mostly I just practiced a ton. And then, it's just kept going. And basically when I knew, when I knew that I was really getting information and it wasn't just my imagination, was when I started getting things I didn't expect. Oh. And maybe like it would come in a way that I wouldn't have phrased it, or words that weren't my normal go-to.
Oh yeah, well that's how I kind of cross-check myself too. Not just in my human readings, but when I'm seeking assistance from other people. Like once I met Sigrira and knew that she was just made for this kind of communication skills, I had a kitty cat get very sick. And it was hereditary. I overpronounce my ages. Hereditary disease that you can't really test for. If your cat has it, they have it, and they cross over really quickly. And I got a phone call from my husband to come home that our cat Monkey was paralyzed, and he had drug himself home from about a block away. You could see it in the snow, how he brought himself home. Normally they pass within the hour. He stayed with us for over 6 so that we could say goodbye to him. And I took him to the vet, and the vet told me about this disease and what was happening, and that he's lost use of his organs, that he was going to go. So I went ahead and crossed him over, sobbing loudly. I can only imagine all of the other people listening in the veterinarian's office. And I was like, I love you so much. I was like, you're the best. He was the best cat. I mean, he was just fit and oversized like a panther. And he had this attitude. He was crazy. He was part dog, I swear. And I said this really weird thing to him that I don't ever use. And I was just like, you're a shooting star, and I love you. And I kept repeating to him, you're a shooting star, just go. You've been the best. And so when he crossed over, I was a wreck, and the doctor came back in, and she was like, do you want to go out the back door? We totally understand. And I took it so offensive. I was like, back door? I was like, what? So I snapped at the doctor, and I was like, I will carry him out the front door. So I took his body home because I had heard from Sigrira that, and from a few other people who said that your other animals at home need to acknowledge the crossing, because if not, it was just like if my monkey cat just disappeared. And so I brought his body home, and we put him in the middle of the living room on a nice blanket, and all the other pets got to come and say their goodbye. And I was told when they ignored the body, like didn't approach it anymore, that then we could go ahead and bury it. So I was a wreck after this experience, and I just felt like it was so fast. I mean, it was just like one day you had him, next day it was gone, and he was a big part of our routine in our life, and it was just, there was a hole. So I called Sigrira, and I was just like, listen, I can't seem to get in touch with him myself. I just need something. Is he okay? She was like, oh, okay, I'll tap in, and she had his name, and she went off and did her things, and you got back in touch with me. Like, there was some time, you thought about it, and you came back, and you gave me the message that he said he was a shooting star, and just, you went on, and I was just like, what? I remember being totally blown away, 'cause I've talked to you a few times, just hanging out as friends. That's not part of her everyday words that you throw out, like, oh, you're a shooting star.
No. And I didn't know what he was trying to tell me, because that wasn't the typical thing they tell me either. That I was like, are you space traveling? Like, I really didn't know
Space traveling somewhere.
Am I just watching too many Star Trek episodes? Like, I didn't know what was going on. So it was, it was really amazing when you told me what that meant to you.
And I got goosebumps now, man. I was
so exciting.
flipping out. I was like, my monkey man, he's okay. And I was like, all right,
cool.
I know if he can talk to her, that when I feel better, when I feel healthy, he'll come to me. And still, every now and then, he'll come back by and check.
visit.
It's been about 7 years since his passing, and he'll still come back and just say a little hi.
Oh, I love
He
that.
is the best. But
I'm glad he visits.
you were incredible.
Thank
Just
you.
to get that message. And I think, speaking from my end, I'm around death and dying quite a bit, but with people. And in our society, in my opinion, people are valued more.
It's so different, well, a lot with the animals. It's so different when it in the sense like you're talking about. It is valued more when people tend to acknowledge it more when it happens to a human.
That's what I mean. That it's
and there-
acknowledged
yeah.
more, and you got 3 days to grieve,
Yeah.
and there's a system in place. But when it happens to a pet, it's you. come
People
work
tend
tomorrow.
to, society tells you that you
Sure.
should just kind of shrug it off, and you've basically lost a family member.
Right? Aren't you going to get another cat?
Right. And in my opinion, there is absolutely no difference between the loss of a human and the loss of an animal. And in fact, sometimes I think it can be worse because you live, some of the humans you lose may not live with you and be with you, constantly. Whereas animals, they sleep in the bed with us sometimes. They, you wake up and you feed them. There's
Right.
this
Every
constant
meal.
interaction that you may not even have with a lot of humans. And not to diminish the loss of the humans either, but at least it should be considered equal. And people, I believe we really should have, things in place. I think there's starting to be a little bit around having like pet sympathy cards or, things like that, which I think can be helpful. But I think about the person who lost an animal in the same way you would think of someone who lost a human family member. I mean, maybe give them time. Definitely don't ask when are you going to get another animal, because that's you can't replace an animal, you can't replace somebody. So give them that basically takes away a little bit from their ability to grieve, because it's like saying you can just get another one and it will
It's
never be the
nothing.
same.
Like you can just go get another person.
Right,
and
you wouldn't
it'll be
say that.
fine. But I did see some sympathy cards at a specialty shop here in Atlanta. It's the Highland Pet Store. And it made me laugh so hard I had to get it. And it was a picture of the cutest kitten ever. It was a black and white photo of just the kitten's face.
That's so sweet.
And it said, I'm sorry about the loss of your dog. Like it was just like almost teary kitten. And you open the card and it says, you should have gotten a cat. And I was like, I was like, it was a sympathy card, but at the same time a jab. And was it right? I didn't know. I was so confused I had to buy it. I knew no one whose dog has crossed over, but we wouldn't joke like that with people. But
yeah, the joke seems a little bit odd. I'm not sure how I would feel about a joke. I guess it would have to be the right person that has that kind of a dark sense of humor, maybe.
Yes, it would have to absolutely be the right one, but it's a step in our society to acknowledge, we are grieving over that with you.
But I feel like at some point it really needs to be completely equal. And I mean, when I lost my first two sons, I know it meant a lot to me when I received, and I was very fortunate. I actually was surrounded by a lot of people that were very caring, and we got flowers, we got cards, and we did receive a lot of the, sort of support that you would normally get. And you came over after Jarvis crossed and you brought me flowers. I remember that and it just means so much to know that you are supported in really the most devastating time of your life, for a lot of people. For me it was. My world basically shattered when I lost them.
Well, how can we talk to our community as a pet parent and let them know how we want to be treated, during our pet's transition? I mean, is there language around that? Can we?
I think the important thing, one of the first things we can do, since it's not the mainstream yet, is to be a role model and to be like how you did with Monkey, how you were like, I'm not going out the back door, and you still, you weren't ashamed to show your grief, your tears. I think if those of us who feel that, all of us feel that way, but those of us who maybe are in a position where we want to, help others understand what's going on, don't be ashamed of your own grief. I mean, show others how you're feeling, share with others how you're feeling. I think that setting an example is a really good way to start. So when you do that, then others who maybe are feeling like they have to hide what they're going through will feel a little bit more comfortable.
That would be really nice. All right. I heard a little smacking-a-roo behind the camera. I thought Colleen had something.
Give it that.
Is it smacking?
That's right. My neighbor across the street sends us, I shouldn't say it like that. Our neighbor across the street will donate to an animal rescue place in honor of the animal that transitioned.
I think that's really nice.
And it's the sweetest thing. They get a little card, and then you get a card in the mail. And it
Yeah.
says the person's name, donated in their honor.
Yeah.
It was the nicest thing. And that was the first time I'd ever, in my entire life, received or seen somebody acknowledge a pet's crossing.
Wow. I think that's a really nice gesture. And I think also it's important to take care of yourself. Like, we're talking about receiving support, and I think that's really important. But then also, I think, we have to find ways to be very gentle with ourselves when we're grieving, just as we would with a human loss. And, if you need to take time off work, or, granted that the framework may not be there for actually receiving maybe paid time off, but, take whatever time you need. And I think eventually people, by people talking about it more, this will become more understood and acceptable. Because I really, it breaks my heart to think of somebody having to go to work and sit in a meeting when they've just had this huge loss and basically pretend that nothing happened.
But you're right. I was recalling the words you said before, that when we have an animal in the house, we're caring for them on a daily basis. We're the ones who feed them. We bathe them. In many ways, it's having a child.
It can be a lot like having a child.
They can't open the door for themselves, so you're opening the door, you're closing, you're listening for them to walk down the hall, you're calling to them, you're keeping them safe, and it's a constant, it's a consistent. And then one day when it's not there anymore,
it's a huge hole in your life. It's a huge, it's...
Do you have some tricks, or not even tricks, but ways to kind of lessen the hole or heal it? I mean, do we continue to talk to our animals once they're gone? Do we, what are some suggestions?
Well, I find that the animals themselves actually, once they're in spirit, try to reach out and help us a lot. They will often show up in dreams, which is, a lot of people talk about dreams they've had of their animals. And then they send you little signs. They will, one of the things that just always sticks out in my memory was after Jarvis crossed over, I was at the grocery store shopping, just walking around the aisle, and I was...
And who's Jarvis?
Jarvis was my first son. I had two cat sons for about 14, 15 years until they crossed over from illness. And after he passed away, he found a lot. He actually, I communicate with him all the time now. He's one of my helpers when I do my animal communication.
Yeah, he's the best.
He's amazing. And then my other one, Juno, it has indicated that he wants to reincarnate and come back to me. So I'm kind of waiting on that. I'm not sure when. He won't tell me when. But so after, it was the first time that I had experienced this kind of loss with them. So shortly after Jarvis passed, I was walking around the grocery store, and I was in the tea aisle, and there was this sticker just right next to this one type of tea, and it said Jarvis, and it was a green sticker, and it was handwritten. It had nothing to do with the tea. It had nothing to do with the grocery store itself. I just took a picture of it because I couldn't believe it. It was such a clear little
That's
thing.
not an average name that you're going to
It's not a typical name, and I bought the tea. It's one of my favorite teas now. It's like this cardamom pu'er, tea. So that was a nice way. And I received a book in the mail that was a gift, and it was written by a Dr. Jarvis, and it was about apple cider vinegar. So that was kind of funny. And then just there was one day, this was probably like 3 days after his crossing. So I was just in deep, deep grief still. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I went to the bathroom, and I saw him, I think, I'm not sure if it was like a waking dream, but I saw him sitting on the bathroom counter the same as he used to. And I think I even kind of like petted him, and I just felt this overwhelming sense of like, okay, it's okay, you know, and then I went back to bed. So there's, you know, they come, you might see them out of the corner of your eye. They, you know, see like a little shadow racing on the floor. There's all kinds of ways that they try to reach out, sometimes through other people or through a communicator.
What about all your pets' toys and beds and items and food? What are we to do with that? What would be the best way to honor that pet?
I think it depends. I mean, you may, if you have other animals in the house that also use it, you know, they would continue using it. But I think, you know, sometimes you might want to keep a few of them just for yourself as a keepsake. But if you want to maybe have a fresh start, you know, down the line, if you were ready to adopt at some point, I would donate them. I think that's a nice way to honor your pet, to give it to shelters and to animals that need to have some of those items.
That's a really good idea. So how do we help their siblings, your other interspecies members in the house with the crossing or passing?
If they have siblings that they're very close with, it can be really hard because they grieve too. They grieve just as we do. So
They do. It is so sad.
it's really sad, especially with bonded pairs. Like with mine, they were two brothers and they had never been apart their whole lives. So the one that's left, you know, he understood what was going on, but he was still grieving. So, you know, they're going to need so much extra love and attention. And maybe in his case, he really Jarvis actually came across and told me to get him a warm blanket, like one of those heated blankets, so that he could still feel almost like the body warmth.
Aww.
And you can get heated pet beds and animal, you know, kind of beds that they automatically turn off after a while, so that it's not like a fire hazard or anything to have those.
Oh my God, we just bought one from cozywinter.com,
Oh.
and they have the wires are wrapped so you can't chew through the wires.
Oh, that's
So you
great.
can have them outdoor
Yeah.
or indoors, even for wildlife, can't chew
That's
through
great.
it. And
That's
we
really
bought little
good.
heated houses this
Nice.
year. Yes. Everybody is loving their
A lot
heat.
of animals love the heat, even if they're not grieving. They let them love the heat.
That is so sweet. So then his brother didn't feel like that was missing from
so
his
that
life?
helped, and just, you know, just pay attention to them. You know, it takes they just need time, also, just like we do. But for us, having his brother, that really helped comfort us because he was almost taking care of us at the same time, which is really amazing if you think about it. You know, that even in his own time, you know, they do these amazing things for us.
I mentioned that you had helped with the idea of leaving the body of the animal in the house and not just taking it away to the vets, and you know, the body never comes back. Or
I think that's
the scent or the
important.
smell.
And in our case, we had a veterinarian that comes to the house, and she's the same vet that you use, and she's wonderful. And that if you have that option, it's such a nice way to go because they can just be in their home, surrounded. You know, they always want to be surrounded by their parents or their family, but that was a really great way to go. So if that happens, if you have the option to do that, then it's the same idea where they would see the body before, you know, before she
and
takes.
be able to understand more. But what if there's not that option? How do we talk to our interspecies? I wanted to call them people, interspecies people.
They're like
interspecies pets.
Companions.
Companions. How do we tell them? Like, I can't imagine coming home and just saying, hey guys, you know, the one dog we had is just not going to come home today. Like,
They usually understand a little bit more than we do. If they've been with the animal and their sibling was sick, they probably already knew that it was coming. If it was something sudden that happened, then, you know, it might be nice to kind of just sit down and talk to them, just like you would maybe with a child or with a younger person, and tell them what happened. And they always appreciate being told, even though they kind of gather things energetically.
did you hear that? Do it again. They always appreciate what?
They always appreciate being told. It's really important to communicate with them, and it's okay that you're communicating in words. And, you know, they'll still receive the information energetically, and it almost, you know, the words matter, but the most important thing is that it's coming from your heart and you're really communicating with them as equals, and that's they feel acknowledged and they feel that really, really helps with everything.
Oh my God, that so resonates with me because before I wasn't really doing that with my pets. It was just kind of like, my people, I love them and
Yeah.
we play and we sleep together and it's all great, but I never like talked to them and shared with them what was going on, but they always knew when I was sad.
They do.
had that stuff. And then I had a reading one time. I'm more talented at talking to people. And this dog came in, laid out all this information about their parent. I mean, detailed stuff. I was floored. I was almost terrified. And when I went home that day, I looked at my cat outside, the first one I saw, and I went, dude, I see you. I love you so much. I'm so sorry that I treated you like a baby. I'm so sorry I treated you like a cat, and I start straight up telling that cat how my day was and what was going on, and I asked him about his day, and I talked to them before, but it was more like, oh, don't you, I love you so much, oh my God, who's the best kitty in the whole world? And now I don't do that anymore. I'm like, hey dude, what's up? Call him Big Cat. Hey, Big Cat, what's going on?
I mean, I think it's okay to sometimes be like, my sweetie pie, and it's okay to do some of that. And
Really, I was
but
over the board.
But at the same time, it is also important to acknowledge them as, like you're saying, as completely equal beings, independent beings,
Intelligent,
independent beings who are their own. I don't want to
they
say
know what's going on.
they know everything that's going on, but they do like to hear it from you. And if you're leaving the house, tell them how long you're going to be gone for. They like to kind of know, be told those kinds of things too.
That's incredible. So, do you get a lot of messages from the pets who have survived the loss, like the siblings or the other ones that say that they can still see their brother coming through the house?
Yes,
or...
I think that's one of the things that does help them a lot, is that they often can see spirit a lot more clearly than we do, or than most of us do. You see them, but so they do. They see that, like, sometimes you're sitting there, crying over the loss, and they're kind of sitting on the couch going, he's right there. Why are you crying? So they can see, they can sense them and see them. So that helps them, and they don't quite understand why you're not seeing them or understanding that they're actually still with us, because they do visit a lot. A lot of animals tell me that they come back and regularly visit their people. They'll even sleep on the bed. They'll sleep like in the same place where they slept before, like on the pillow or on your feet, or you might sometimes even feel like a little pressure
Dip
on
in
your
the
legs
bed,
or something.
yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll hear in sessions that they'll say, well, home was my bit of heaven. And so even though they crossed over, that's where they're staying, is with you. They're still playing it out.
Yeah, they really, they're connected, because they come in, a lot of times they come in to be with their people. So the connection doesn't go away. The love is forever. Like, that stays. And that's one of the main messages that they tell me when I connect with animals that have crossed over, is that the love is forever. It doesn't stop when they cross and move to another place. And
I do have a question, but I don't know if this is the appropriate time. But I hear a lot of Lumineers asking, why are the lives of the dogs and cats so short? Why can't they be longer? Have you ever heard in your communication to our pets if they were like, wow, I wish I could have lived like 80 human years? Or
I don't know the answer to why they're so short, but it does seem like often they feel like they live the amount of time they were supposed to. I don't know if that means that was enough. It never seems to be exactly enough, in the sense that they want more time with their people, but they have a better understanding that they'll still get to see their people, whereas we don't realize that we'll still kind of be connected to them after their death.
so in the process of death and dying, let's say more like a hospice care, like your animal companion has been diagnosed and they're, given a certain amount of time. What kind of tips can you provide for us in how to provide for the hospice patient, as well as the other interspecies animals, and as the humans in the house.
Yes.
And I would also like to hear some kind of tips or viewpoints that maybe aren't domesticated dogs or cats, but we have a lot of homes that have birds. And I know that they're whip smart. I don't even know how else to say that, but, like,
Yeah.
what are some...
Yeah, this applies to all companion animals, not, guinea pigs, rats,
the guinea pig.
mice, any kind of animals, snakes, any kind of companions that you have. But in terms of caring for them, the one thing I would like to point out, which is really important, is make sure that they are under veterinary care. Like, first, make sure you check with your vet first and get the diagnosis. And I want to make sure that happens before before you contact me, so that you're not relying on me to be that medical authority, because I'm not a veterinarian, so I want to make sure that comes first. But once you know what's going on, and they definitely do have the terminal illness.
Like, are you willing to work with a person's veterinarian?
Oh, of course, yeah. Absolutely.
That's amazing.
But I just want to make sure that that's that's the first component, the first thing that happens is that they have been checked out, and then I see myself as sort of complementing that. Like I think it goes together, and once we know that, then in terms of taking care for them, I think one of the things that helped me a lot when I was doing it was I felt like I was actually told and felt like it was an honor to take care of them in their old age. Because if you think about it, they take care of us basically their whole lives. Like we may take care of their bodies, but they take care of our souls. If they just take care of our emotions.
They do so much more for us than I think that we're really aware of.
So I felt like one of the things that helped me was I felt like it was an honor and a privilege to be able to do this for them, and in their older age and whatever they needed, and do the things that they needed, maybe waking up in the middle of the night to give them that extra feeding or whatever it was. It was important to me. At the same time, it's very, very bittersweet. You realize that your time is limited, so that's...
Do you talk to your pet about the time being limited? I mean, do you mention it to the others? Because there's something about being human where you're like, maybe I don't want to tell them, or maybe if I don't mention it, they won't know, and they'll have a better quality of life. And I'm not going to tell their siblings because I don't want them to grieve or worry, or of course they already know. But
they already knew. I don't think I was telling him so much as asking him, because I wanted to know what his wishes were, in terms of his care.
Can anybody ask? And
I believe anybody can learn to do this, absolutely. And it's... Do you want me to talk about how...
do you offer classes? Do you teach this, Sigrira? I mean, if you're listening now and just love this and you want to know more about Sigrira or get a hold of her for maybe a private consultation, you could head to her website, which is sigrira.com. Check out the spelling. That's all I have to say.
I'm actually teaching a class in November here, in Intro to Animal Communication. And it'll kind of be a little, brief first class explaining a little bit about how to get started and learn, with your own animal.
Is this going to be recorded?
I don't know.
We will see if we can record that for you, Lumineers, and maybe we can put it out there. If not, then please write in so Sigrira knows that she needs to offer another class that's online so that we can learn more about this. But yeah, so anybody can talk to their pet, like
so if
ask
you
them
want to
what
just,
they need.
I mean, I think there's, there are great books out there that you can read, but if you want to just quickly get started, I think the most important thing is to connect to their heart. So basically feel if you can feel yourself sort of going into your heart space, and then imagine this light that goes from your heart to theirs, like directly, and you're going to send love. And the most important thing is that you actually feel the love that you're sending, rather than just saying, I love you, I love you. It's more important to just feel it, and to send it to their heart. And then...
Like an emotional action.
Yeah, like an emotional action where you're kind of spreading this love towards, to their heart and connecting to it. And you're if you visualize, not everybody's visual, but you can kind of almost see the light going to their heart. And then ask them to communicate, ask them to share something with you, and ask something simple. Don't ask something, difficult to begin with, just something little. It may not always be in words. I mean, you may get a word, you may get a sentence, but for some people it might just come across as an image or a feeling, or even a song. You might hear a song that maybe just reminds you of something. So be prepared for it to not be necessarily one size fits all. It really will just depend on what the easiest way for you to perceive information is, and the way that you will know that. And we talked about this a little bit before, but if it surprises you, that's kind of a sign that it's definitely happening.
Right, that you're receiving something. And you're not hand making it.
You're not making it up or imagining it. Yes. And then finally, always make sure to thank them for doing this for you and for communicating. Yeah. And they're usually really happy. Like the animals are they're just waiting for this. Like it makes them happy to be able to communicate with you this way.
I like that. I feel if we start talking to them and getting those symbols or signs or words and stuff, that it would also carry through and help us communicate to them after they've crossed over.
It's the same. It's actually exactly the same. I don't communicate any differently with animals that are living than with animals that are in spirit. It feels the same to me. So unless they tell me where they are, I wouldn't actually know.
Body or no body.
It's the same type of communication. So
that is so neat to hear that and just understand it that way. That
it's the same. And also, I think a lot of people on some level already communicate with their animals. They're just not consciously doing it. Like, think about how you know when they're hungry a lot of times or when they need to go out, or we kind of just know. And that's, in a way, that's the type of communication that's just not conscious.
Oh, I just thought I knew because my cat nibbles on me.
That is also...
Mommy, get up! Mommy, get up! It's past 6:30. Feed me, feed me, feed me.
That's communication. It's very
all
clear.
The way up and down my arm and nibbles on it.
That is so cute.
Kitty cat, come on.
I love that.
So I wanted to cover that we had gone over how to take care of ourselves through this process, how to care for our animal who's going through the process and their siblings, as well as the humans that are in the house. But is there anything that you ever go to or use on your end to kind of, I don't know, just put a warm blanket around this experience of helping your beloved animal transition? That is a bizarre question. Is there something that you go to that just makes this okay? Like, do you have a phrase, a viewpoint, a perception that you use that just makes it like this is something else that we do in our life and this is okay?
I mean, the thing that helps me is just knowing that they are okay. Like knowing that they are, they're in the light. They're actually perfectly fine. They, a lot of times they cross over, and when I communicate with them after they've crossed, they actually show me that they're perfect. Even if they had trouble walking, they'll show me that they're running. And sometimes they do that on purpose because they want their person to know that they're not suffering. Like they're running, or if they have trouble eating, they might show themselves just like chowing down on their favorite foods. So I think for me, that's what makes it okay, is knowing that they're fine, even if we're still, we're grieving and we're going through a hard time because they're not with us, but they're okay. And there's also a poem that I think many of you may be familiar with. I think it's anonymous. I'm not sure who wrote it, but it's something that I think can be of comfort to anyone who has lost an animal companion. And it's actually called The Rainbow Bridge. It's where the Rainbow Bridge comes from. And I'm just going to pull it up on my phone. And if it's okay, I'll read it.
Yes.
And it's something that I think can be very comforting, if I can get my phone to cooperate. It's called At Rainbow Bridge. And I'll just read it. Just this side of heaven is a place called the Rainbow Bridge. When an animal dies that has been especially close to someone here, that pet goes to Rainbow Bridge. There are meadows and hills for all of our special friends, so they can run and play together. There's plenty of food, water, and sunshine, and our friends are warm and comfortable. All the animals who had been ill and old are restored to health and vigor. Those who were hurt or maimed are made whole and strong again, just as we remember them in our dreams of days and times gone by. The animals are happy and content, Except for one small thing, they miss someone very special to them who had to be left behind. They all run and play together, but the day comes when one suddenly stops and looks into the distance. His bright eyes are intent. His eager body quivers. Suddenly he begins to run from the group, flying over the green grass, his legs carrying him faster and faster. This always makes me cry. And then you have been spotted. And when you and your special friend finally meet, you cling together in joyous reunion, never to be parted again. Sorry, the happy kisses rain upon your face. Your hands again caress the beloved, the beloved head, and you look once more into the trusting eyes of your companion, so long gone from your life, but never absent from your heart. And then you cross the rainbow bridge together, never to be separated again. I think it's so beautiful.
It's very beautiful.
And yeah.
Sigriras crying.
I was not expecting to cry during this. But along the lines of the poem, they show me these beautiful places where they're at. It's amazing, and I don't know what else to say.
I'll say probably what a lot of us are thinking is thank you for possibly being our rainbow bridge so that we can understand a little bit more that our children, our pet children, are doing well and that our relationships are still continuing.
They do.
And this is what the lighter side and all of this is about, just to remind us, to let us know that we have people here helping us understand relationships continue, life goes on.
They do.
And we send you a big thank you, Sigrira, for coming here and just opening up and giving us this wonderful information. And again, if you want to find Sigrira, you can on her website, sigrira.com. We will post the link up for you. Lumineers, thank you so much for lending us your ears. We love you tremendously. Leave your comments. We want to hear all about you. And remember, it's not woo-woo. It's true.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was beautiful.